Hello and welcome everybody. Well, this is Joseph here. I know it's been a long time, but all this is school's doing. Let me just put the blame on school. Anyway, today we are here to talk about accepting mobile money payments through Paystack on your Django website, and you could as well just take the information you learn and apply it to any other website you have. You just probably be changing the language and maybe the framework, but it still doesn't change any much of a thing. So uh, in the Django community we have Paystack by uh, Abula, which used to stand out as the default implementation of interfacing with Paystack, but the last time I checked it wasn't really integrating that well. So I realized sometimes we are at our wit's end and we need to build something for ourselves. Now, to follow along with these tutorials, you need to come to Paystack and then create an account, get a private and a public key, and well, follow up. Please make sure you set your private and your public key in your environment variable, because I don't want to be showing mine, so I wouldn't actually be showing it on the screen. Now, to get started, I'll fire up my terminal. You can see I have my virtual environment already. Now I'll head on to it. So you can see I have my virtual environment already, and I'll go on straight ahead and activate it, and then I'll install the things I need. So I need Django and I need requests library, and well, let me just use Django crispy forms. For those who know it, you know it gives us these beautiful forms and all those stuff. Now that our installation is all done, we run our Django admin start project paystack pay. Well, that's what I like to call it, but you can choose to call it a different name, and I'm initiating it in this folder. Now we have it set up here. We're just going to add some maps to our installed apps. So I'm going to create Django Python manage.py start app or, and then I'm going to add my crispy forms over here, and I'll add my core. I'll import operating system because I need it to be able to get environment variables, and I'll get my environment variables that I'm getting. I actually just want my paystack public key and my private key. So it depends on how you saved it to your environment. You know, it's not a good practice to be showing your especially private key in your code base. So I've hidden mine. Hide yours, be safe. So I get, in my case, I've saved mine as a paystack secret key. So this is my private key, and then I have my public key. Now that all this is done, I'll head on to my urls.py, and I'll import include, then path or include core.urls.py. But we don't have core.urls.py at the moment, so we have to go in here and then create urls.py, and we say from Django the urls import path url patterns equals, yeah, right now an empty list. Now I create a class payment, and I need an amount. I need a reference. This is the reference key that will be attached to our payment so that we'll be able to verify it. It's supposed to be unique. Then we also need the email of the user because, well, Paystack requires the email. And then we need to know if it's verified. Default equals false. And well, I wonder what else I should add. Maybe a date created in case you need it. Now order my stuff by date created. Well, it's a good thing at this point to add a unique constraint over here, but since this project is simple, I'll just skip over it. Well, I'll just do period. So and then here comes the big part, the save. Now whenever a save event is to happen, we need to generate a reference, and we need to make sure our reference is unique. So we check if the current object does not have a reference, and if it does, well, if it doesn't, we're just going to try to create a reference. So I will use the secrets model. Auto import, please help me. Okay, not helping, so let me go up and import secrets. Now the secrets model is good for generating API keys and stuff. We are going to use token URL say, and we'll give it a maximum length of 50, and then we'll check if there is an object that has a similar reference. So we do payment dot objects dot filter, and we set the ref to the reference we've generated. And if the query set, this query set, oh, my hands are actually typing faster than well. So if this query set, which is object with similar reference, exists, or if it doesn't, you can just bring that exists, but I'm choosing not to. So I'll set the ref to our current reference, and then when the while loop runs again, it will know that we have a reference and it will skip this whole while loop stuff. So I'll just do a save, and we are done with the save. Well, now there is this problem with, not actually a problem, but it's a feature with Paystack that ensures that our currencies are more or less like 100 times the actual digit. So if you have like 1 CD, you are supposed to put in 100. So they don't want 80 decimals part. So I'll create a helper function that is supposed to return an integer, and it will return self that amount times 100. Well, I'm not really using my Pi, but I still like the hang of typing. I'm still getting used to it, but well, nobody can blame me once I tried. So I'll create some forms over here, and payment form. It's actually a model form, and this model is so from the models import payment. The fields are amount and email. Let me make sure that this shows up in our admin panel. So from the models import payment, and then admin the site that register payments. Now that our models are done and everything is done, we are left with creating a payment object from our view. We are not going to manually go to the admin. We want our users to initiate payments, so we create a function that I'll call initiate payment. It takes in request, which is an HTTP request object. To import, that's the job, and it returns an HTTP response. Now what this is going to do is create a post a payment object. So if request method is equal to post, then payment is equal to forms dot from dot import. Why do I keep typing this R and M wrong? Anyway, don't bother with me and my comments. Forms the payment, and we are going to take in request the post as our arguments, and then we will check. Let me make this payment form so that we don't get confused. So if payment form that is valid, then we will say our payment is equal to payment for sorry payment form that's safe. So we expect at this point, calling the save function, our reference is while loop is going to run and generate a unique reference for us, so that we don't have to actually worry about anything. And then when this happens, we'll render an HTML template. Well, I'll choose to name that template request make payments with HTML, and the payment yep. And if that happens to not be the case, well, I want my payment form to be forms that payment, in this case, sorry, forms that payment form. I've been typing payments, and then I render request initiate payment.html, and payment form is going to be a payment form. This is pretty clean and direct. Let me extend this, stretch my screen across so that it's quite easy to see, and well, reduce my font size by one so that everything fits into the screen and it's much easier to get. Now that this is done, well, I don't have my initiate payment.html, and I don't have my make payment.html. So, well, what are we waiting for? Let's head on. Before that, I'll create a templates folder and a base.html file. Now I just use the default HTML template created by VS Code. Let me change this to payments, set a block content, sorry, oops, and block content. We are not doing any fancy styling here, just a little bit. And well, let me get a bootstrap CDN link and place it somewhere around here. So I got it from getbootstrap.com, from the bootstrap docs. So that's, well, hopefully isn't that hard to find. Now I'll create two HTML files, make payment.html, and then initiate payment.html. This one extends base.html. In fact, they all do. And my block of content. Oops, why? And block content. And well, let me load crispy forms. Crispy forms tags. I'm going to need it. Now, what all I'm trying to do over here is to display a form. So I'm just going to use some classes from Bootstrap. So container class, flexbox class. I'll just do will justify content center. I just want everything to be in the middle of the screen. Well, I think this will do. And well, let me give it a little styling with to set the height. So I set the minimum height, 90 vertical height, a viewport height, sorry. I always make this mistake with the names. And I'll have a form action dot method equals post, and well, Django requires our CRSF token, but it happens. Then payment form or crispy, and I'll have a little input type equals submit, value equals submit. To avoid any problems, let me put this in a paragraph, put this in a paragraph, and of course present our user with something like an h4, enter amount, yeah, something like this, yeah, to make it even more epic and HR. Now I would head on to my urls.py and I import my views, and I'll do a path of views that initiate payments, name initiate payment. Come here, run my server, and well, Let's wait and see. Oh, there it is. So I found the error, which is in I made a mistake and brought that pi over here. So I just clear that out and run my server again. Server started. So I'll go to 127 and oh, for some reason it seems my bootstrap did not get loaded. So let me check my bootstrap link again. It's active. I'm gonna refresh. Now it's active, but my crispy forms didn't also work. I'll go into my settings and I'll set my crispy template path to bootstrap 4, and I'll come back and yeah, you see this beautiful form with everything all set. Yeah, let me add something to this button. We are not doing a design course, but well, nobody kills us if we make it nice. So that's just about it. So we can create payments. I can create a payment of 5 and put in my email, submit, and it's telling me I don't have my table because I haven't run my migrations. Don't worry about it. So let's just go ahead and run. Now when this form is all set and done, we are going to be presented with make payment.html, and we expect make payment.html to handle well relatively everything that is required of our paystack object. So now next time the HTML might be a little messy because you're going to be mixing some JavaScript code, but please don't give up. Okay, don't give up. We extend base.html again. Yeah, we need our bootstrap style. We need our bootstrap styling. And well, here comes the messy stuff. So I'm going to do something similar to what I had here. So I'll just go back, copy all this because I want to have something positioned in the center. Clear out all this, and then I just place in an H5, make payment for in my case I'm in Ghana, so I'm using Ghana city, and I'll put in payment dot amount. Now I have my form. In this form should have a script, but we need the link of this script from our paystack documentation. So I'll just search for inline. So paystack checkout environment web view. So I just search for inline, and I'll go down to the HTML. Let's see if I can find my inline. Well, there it is. This script. So I'll come back here and I'll place it here, because we need this script in order to accept payments. Well, unless you want to implement everything ourselves, which we obviously don't. So I'll create a large button. So let me give it an ID. And I'll say make payment. You see that? So it's actually not ours. You can find some of that JavaScript right here, right here. But well, I just want to type it my own way. So I'll have my currency, which is Ghana Cedi GHS. I'll have no plan. If you want to set a plan, you can do that. And well, I'll have my reference be my payment.ref, and then I'll create an object which is going to include a key, and this is supposed to be my Paystack public key. Please beware, not the private key, the public key. The private key does not leave your server, only the public key can. So I'll set the email to payment.email, and then the amount. Remember the amount value helper function we created. So amount payment.amount value, because we need to do some multiplication by 100, and well, this helps. We also need our reference, which is our reference we have, and it needs a callback function, which is supposed to be a function that takes a response that is after the whole payment has been made. So we set the window location to a new URL, and that is going to be verify payments. So now I just go back down and I'll do a few checks. This is not really necessary for me, but for you out there, maybe it might be necessary. So if a currency exists, then I'm going to set I do it this way because for some of you, you might be dealing with an international system where you'd have different currencies and stuff like that. So if that should ever happen, these are really helpful. You don't want any small letters, you don't want any problems. Now we are actually going to use the Paystack JavaScript library that we imported. So we say handler equals paystack, and we do a dot setup with our objects, and then now the only thing we are left with doing is to connect this button with this function. So I'll do an on click equals pay with pay stack, and then I'll cross my fingers and hope everything works. Now I'll come into my views. In my views, from Django the configuration, set configuration, import settings, and here I'll pass in the public key settings.pay stack public key. But do remember that we set that anytime when we finish executing that function in our paystack block, we are expected to have a callback function that leads to a route. Now that route is defined with a path that has a string as ref, and well, I'll name it views dot verify payment. Now let's go in there and define our verify it takes in a reference. Let me check my functions signature in the route. It takes in a reference which is a string, and it returns an HTTP response. Now what do we do here? I'll head on to the top from the models. So whenever we get a request to verify payment, we'll first get the payment, and we say get object of 404, the payment object, and the reference equals our reference. Now if we have the payment, we can say payment.verify payment. So we verify the payment, and then we return redirect initiate payment. Now I'll use auto import, and that'll be it. But we don't have this verify payment, so let's go back to our models and try to do the payment verification from there. I find it to be the nicest place to have it be placed, so let everything about the model be about the model. So we have a paystack object, an object because it's bigger for a larger system, and we are not just coding, but we are coding something that is expected to be useful. So this our paystack system is supposed to have a signature with So it will verify payments with a reference of self.ref and an amount of self.amount. Then you check if the status is something useful. You make a check and see if the amount, the amount in the results divided by 100 is the same as the amount we expected the person to pay. And if that is true, you set the verified. What was our function? Verified, right? Verified. And then you save, and if self.verified, you return true. If not, you're going to return false. Well, I'll just unindent this. Now we need to create this paystack object. Well, it's probably been a dilemma from you. So from the paystack, import paystack, and we don't have it, so we have to go and create it. And we need our setting subject, we need our paystack, and we need requests. Then we are going to set the paystack secret key. It's the only thing we need over here to be equal to the settings of paystack secret key. Now we use the secret key to access all our variables like our account on paystack, and this is the URL endpoint for paystack's API views that we are using. Maybe in future there might be a different version, but this is the one we are using. Now we can put a lot of functions over here, but this time all we are going to do is verifying a payment. So we take in a reference and an amount. Well, I wonder if we even need the amount, so I'll just play from here. Let me do star ax. Now the route to verify payment is slash transactions slash verify slash, then I'll put in my the reference code, and I'll change this to an F string. Okay, we also need a few headers. So, and these are important, very important. Without it, your API request will not work. So our authorization is bearer. Then you put in our secret key. We also need a content type, which is going to be application/JSON. get request dot get. So we are going to get from the URL we have, and that URL, let me set URL solve the base URL plus path. So we are going to get our URL and our headers, and this response that we are going to get, all we check from it is our status code, see if we have a problem. If our status code is 200, we return our status, and we also return our data. Else, all we are going to return, we get our response data to be equal to response to JSON, and then we return whatever message Paystack sent us. Go into my models, my errors gone. So I have my Paystack and my errors are still not gone. So I have Paystack. I'm going to my views and from Django I import messages so I can leave message. I say if verified messages a success request verification successful. Verification failed. Now let's go back and do a little test. So I realized I forgot a return statement over here, and well, I'll just go back, do a payment, and it tells me to make payments. So I click on make payments. Well, it turns out for some reason everything failed. So I have an error here. So I use a button, and well, button is causing a problem for me. So I just remove this button, this form, so that I'll not have a button there. And I'll try again. 1 2 3 Joe. So I'll try to make payments. Then we get presented with this Paystack test. So I'm using the test mobile money number. I'll make payments and I'll wait whilst the authorization works. And it tells me payment successful and I got redirected back. But right now it seems like there's no way to tell whether the payment was successful. So I create an admin account, create super user, I'll use a username of user, I'll leave my email blank and I'll do a password. Please don't do this unless you are doing development like I am, which is still not safe. So I'll go into my admin panel. Now log in with user, password. Oh, we did get a message, verification successful, right here. But still, let's log in and see. Go to password payments. Well, this is the one that was made recently and it tells us it was verified. Now we can see the other payments are made before as tests. Well, some of them didn't come on the screen, are not verified. You see that? Now just to make things a little, so let's go on and summarize. Now after all this procedure, after making a payment, Paystack will send you an email even if it's just a test payment, so you can check in your email and verify it. I've checked in mine and I've seen mine. So I hope this video helps, and well, be safe.